Well, hello there. I'm Gemini. That battery can last up to 24 hours even with the always-on display turned on. It's pretty cool.
Good morning. It's October 13th, 2025. We at HAPCO are offering this video breakdown of a new set of 56 articles in U.S. healthcare that HAPCO sent us and that we curated into the HAPCO Competitive Research Analytics platform. Now, let's get to it.
All right, so to really get our heads around all this, we've broken it down into 5 main themes. First, we're going to look at the immediate fallout from the government shutdown. Then, we'll dive into the huge battle brewing over Medicaid. From there, we'll check out how the industry itself is trying to handle its own workforce and cost problems. And after that, we've got the really exciting stuff, AI and tech's new frontier. And finally, we'll tie it all together and ask, so what's next?
Okay, let's jump right in with the big one. This is the story that's really hanging over everything right now, the government shutdown and its fallout. You know, this federal gridlock isn't just some abstract political headline. It is sending some serious shockwaves through the nation's entire public health infrastructure.
So what you're seeing is this really bizarre, chaotic, stop-and-start situation. On one hand, you've got non-essential functions just grinding to a halt. We're talking layoffs starting at critical places like HHS and even the CDC. But then, on the other hand, there's this mad dash, a desperate scramble for emergency funding and these temporary lifelines, all just to keep the most essential services from completely falling apart.
And what's really striking here is the sheer chaos of it all. I mean, this goes way beyond just furloughs. We're seeing reports of mass firings at the CDC that are just decimating key offices. And get this, in a truly bizarre twist, some of those firings were later reversed because of, wait for it, coding errors. It just paints this picture of a total procedural breakdown right when you can't afford one. You've got officials scrambling to get hundreds of scientists their jobs back after they were mistakenly let go.
And here's a perfect example of that reactive Band-Aid approach we're seeing. Take the WIC program, the one that gives critical food aid to low-income moms and kids. It just got an emergency injection of $300 million. Now, that's a lot of money for sure, but the real takeaway here isn't the number itself. It's that these vital programs are being kept alive on a short-term, patch-by-patch basis. It's not a strategy, it's a scramble.
So all this budget chaos, well, it's basically pouring gasoline on a fire that's been burning for a long time. And that fire is the debate over the future of Medicaid. Right now, every single aspect of the nation's largest health program is being put under a microscope.
And this chart, wow, it really puts the scale of this whole thing into perspective, doesn't it? Look at this. There's a major proposal on the table, some have nicknamed it the One Big Beautiful Bill, that calls for a staggering $911 billion in cuts to Medicaid. Now, to offset that, there's a proposed $50 billion for a rural health program. But just looking at these two bars, you can see the massive gap between what's being cut and what's being added. It's just crystal clear.
And of course, the states are caught right in the middle of all this. They're being forced to make some incredibly tough choices. Take Idaho, for example. They've got a legislative task force right now exploring whether to repeal or just cut their Medicaid expansion, all in the name of government efficiency. Meanwhile, over in Oregon, they've just hit pause on a planned expansion for people leaving prison, pointing directly to the federal spending cuts. And in North Carolina, the feeling on the ground is that this new rural health program, well, it's not even going to come close to plugging the holes for their rural hospitals.
You know, while all this political back and forth is happening, the real-world stakes, they just couldn't be higher. And this quote really brings it home. A brand new study, literally just published this month, found a direct connection between Medicaid expansion and improved 5-year survival rates for cancer patients. And the most powerful part? The effect was most significant in those exact same rural, high-poverty areas that are at the very center of this whole debate. All right, so with all that uncertainty swirling around Washington, you have to ask, what's the industry itself doing? Well, it looks like providers are tired of waiting for a policy solution to ride in and save the day. They're starting to get creative and develop their own solutions to these chronic, systemic challenges. And check this out. This is a really cool example of that innovation in action, right from the ground up. To deal with these constant workforce shortages, some hospitals are literally building their own employee pipelines. They're going straight to local high schools, partnering up to train students for healthcare careers that are in high demand. It creates this fantastic direct path from the local community right into a stable job. And it's not just one thing either. We're seeing all sorts of new levers being pulled.
For instance, California just enacted a law to put some guardrails on private equity's control over medical decisions. On the financial side, hospital systems are still using mergers and acquisitions to stay afloat. And here's an interesting one. Employers are now offering menopause-related benefits, realizing it's a key way to support and retain their workforce. North Carolina is even launching a new program to tackle the social worker shortage. It's really a try-everything approach.
Okay, but here's the thing. While Washington is debating and the industry is adapting, there is another story unfolding, a technological one. A wave of innovation is gathering force, driven by things like AI and blockchain. It's almost like while one part of the world is stuck in the mud, another part is hitting the accelerator.
So a really important new term you're going to hear a lot about is agentic AI. Let's break that down. This isn't just about AI that predicts things. No, we're talking about AI systems that can act on their own, pursue complex goals, and even team up with other AIs to get things done, with very little human handholding. And the big idea for how to use this? Imagine secure, open marketplaces where you can essentially hire these AI agents to do specific tasks. It's a whole new paradigm.
And this timeline, it's just from the past month or so, but it really shows you how fast this is all moving. It's incredible. Look at this convergence. In September, you have a big policy forum saying, hey, we need rules for this stuff. Then, just weeks later in October, boom, Cisco launches a brand new, super efficient AI chip. At the same time, a group of global banks launches a stablecoin for digital payments, and reports are showing that over 40 states have introduced AI-related bills just this year. So you see, the tech is exploding, and the attempts to regulate it are happening at the same time. It's a race, and it is moving at lightning speed.
So where is all this tech transformation happening? Well, if you look at where the activity is, the biggest slice of the pie, not surprisingly, is AI governance. Everyone is scrambling to figure out the rules of the road. But right behind that, you see a ton of energy being poured into building those AI marketplaces we talked about, creating new digital payment systems, and of course, building the fundamental infrastructure, the chips and data centers to make it all possible.
Okay, so let's pull back for a second. We've looked at a political system under a ton of strain. We've seen an industry trying to find its own way forward. And we've touched on a tech revolution that's basically rewriting the rulebook for everybody. So, what does it all mean when you put it together? Let's synthesize these key tensions.
And really, it boils down to this fundamental conflict. On one side of the coin, you have a system absolutely bogged down by political strain. It's all about budget cuts, policy reversals, and just instability. But on the other side, you have this sector that's just bursting with innovation. It's moving at a breathtaking pace, fueled by advances in AI, new business models, and people on the ground trying to solve problems. These two worlds, they're not just different, they're moving in opposite directions and at totally different speeds.
And that leaves us with the big critical question, doesn't it? As this slow, clashing world of policy runs headfirst into the fast-moving world of progress, which one is going to win out? Which of these powerful, competing forces will ultimately define the future of American healthcare? That right there is the story to watch.